All right, cool, man. So how's everything?
It's going good. Going good. I got
Yeah,
plenty of gigs and the weather's good and I'm excited about the record coming out and I appreciate you have taken the time to talk to me about it.
absolutely, man. First of all, great record. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Listened to it a couple times already. Maybe we could just start with you telling me a little bit about how it all came about. Talk about the album.
Well, it's been a long time. I started it like, man, I was trying to think about it the other day, a couple of years before COVID. I kind of judge things by that now.
Mhm.
Um, I do a lot of small group jazz, but I also do a lot of acoustic solo gigs. And I was writing stuff on acoustic guitar that didn't really transfer to the jazz gigs so much, but I really liked it, and it kind of came to me. Let me do something that's real unique, real special. And I live in what's called the Sourlands, and I would go out. There's a lot of places to hike around here, a lot of nature trails and stuff, and I just go out there and get inspired, and I would write stuff that I was feeling at the time, and so it kind of developed on its own in that way.
Yeah, I never heard that term, the Sourland. So that's like the New Hope, that general area, the mountains.
Well, they refer to it as the Sourland Mountain. It's not really that large, but it is a unique geological feature. It runs basically east to west from like Hillsborough, New Jersey, out to New Hope. Yeah,
Mm.
but it's one long ridge line. It's about 30 something miles long and about 3 or 4 miles wide. It's about 90, 100 square miles. It's the last intact forest in central New Jersey. Harbors endangered species. Um, some other facts is provides drinking water for millions of
Mm.
people. As you know, New Jersey is the most densely populated state in the United States.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this little oasis in the middle of New Jersey.
Right, right. And so, having a lot of international listeners and such, there's like always this impression of New Jersey. But I can attest to like whenever I go out that way for a gig or just to hang out, there's like a certain calmness that comes over me. Like when I get like closer to that New Hope area with that little river running and up into those mountains. And it's like its own little it's like its own little oasis over there.
Yeah, I really like it. So I decided to. I've been through most of it, but I decided to explore some areas that I hadn't been, and a couple of these places actually have special names. So um, a couple of the tracks on the record, such as Woosamansa Valley, Devil's Half Acre, um, Roaring Rocks is another one. Those three are specific places in the Sourland. You can go and check it out.
Mm. Yeah, so what's interesting to me, because I know you more having played with you a couple times, most of the stuff we've done is more in the traditional jazz kind of thing. And having heard this record, this is like a certain, it was a surprise in a good way. It's very organic sounding and it has sort of this like I think of Michael Hedges a little bit almost when I heard part of it.
Hmm.
And the acoustic guitar playing and just the blend of the violin and everything. Talk about, have you ever done another record quite like this?
I have not. Um, what I plan on doing is another record similar in tone to this, acoustic guitar based, um, but doing jazz, traditional jazz songs, or maybe even some fusiony jazz tunes, Chicoria, Matheny, that kind of thing, but acoustic guitar, strings, and things like that. But this is the first one that I've done like this.
Right, right. So, like, talk about maybe the recording process and the musicians who are on the record.
Yeah, the studio I used is called Hopetown Sound, which is out this way. It's actually across the river in Pennsylvania. run by Pierre Giacalone. He was originally from New York City, but he's a fantastic engineer, amazing equipment, beautiful live room. So most of the uh, rhythm tracks were recorded, as a group live. Um, the violinist on the record is Joe Dennison. He lives up, he's in North Jersey, but close to New York City. Virtuoso violinist, born in Russia or the old Soviet Union, but he's lived in the United States most of his life. Um, can play anything. He did such a fantastic job. Really want to thank him for playing on the record. He was currently on tour with Kansas this past year. They recruited him, um, but he has a prog rock group called Stratusfurious. Um, he has a string quartet, kind of a world music group called Sweet Plantain. But he, like I said, he just did an amazing job on this record. Some of the stuff was specifically written out, like I had certain melodies that I wanted him to play, but a lot of it was, I would just say, well, I want this feel, so go for it. And he just improvised some fantastic stuff. Um, so his name is Joe Dennison on violin. There's two cellists on the record, two upright basses, three percussionists. My friend Mark Stewart played mandolin and bouzouki, and yeah, as I said, most of the rhythm tracks were all organic, overdub solos, but not too much. It was pretty live record, to be honest.
Yeah, and it does come across in that way, and I agree. The violin player, well, I mean, all the musicians, it's just great musicianship, but yeah, you could definitely get a sense of the talents
Hmm.
just from hearing
Yeah,
them.
amazing player.
Yeah. So, most of these compositions, so you're saying for the most part, they were mostly arranged by you, or did the instrumentalist did you have someone else do the arrangements or on it?
No, all arrangements done by me.
Cool.
Um, some of the tunes were complex in that they have odd meters, and the meter will change. Like, one tune is 5/4 to 3/4. Another tune is like 11/8 to 4/4. That kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but they're not. I wouldn't say overly complicated. So it was fairly easy in the studio. Maybe just two or three passes, and everybody got it.
Yeah.
So uh, as far as arranging, I guess when the cello players came in, I kind of explained the form to them a little bit. But like I said, I would give them, okay, on this section, I definitely want you to play this line, but after that, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, really cool. So were you listening to anyone specifically, or were there any other albums that are maybe in the similar kind of vein that gave you some inspiration for the writing?
Well, I wanted to do something unique, but if you're looking for a reference point, um, there's a record called Appalachian Waltz.
Mm.
Yo-Yo Ma was on that. Um,
Right.
Mark
Edgar.
O'Connor, Edgar Meyer, those guys. So,
Yeah.
that was kind of a touchstone a little bit.
Cool. Yeah, I was kind of hoping you were going to say, I was sort of leaning in that direction because I did hear a little bit of it, you know, a little bit of that essence.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think those guys, the things that they've been doing, that collective of musicians, uh, just some remarkable work, This sort of, I don't think it really falls into this category necessarily of new grass, but it's almost like Americana, classical, whatever. Just a blend of great American music with like some Scottish and Irish influence or whatnot. And I think not enough is there's just not enough awareness of them and that genre outside of the musical community.
Yeah. And it makes it kind of hard to sell because it's not jazz, it's not Americana, it's not classical, it's not world music, but at the same time, it is all of those things mixed together. So I'm hoping to reach, some people that may not normally know of, or be fans of jazz, or be fans of classical music, but they may hear this and say, "Oh, that I like that." You know.
Yeah, I think it's definitely very accessible. I mean, the melodies are clear, and even though that some of the compositions, when you break them down, there is a complexity to them if you're looking at it through a musician's ear, listening through a
Mhm.
musician's ear, but it does never sounds forced. It definitely sounds organic and accessible. So, I think you achieve something there
Yeah.
that a lot of times this kind of music could be over people's heads in some way. But I don't get that sense.
Good, good. That's what we're going for. That's what we're going for.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to recommend to my listeners to definitely check it out because it is something that, it's definitely enjoyable for anyone who is a fan of music, no matter what genre, because I think it moves beyond genre, which is cool.
Exactly.
So let me go back a little, James, because we know each other, but I don't know you that well in terms of how you grew up and such. So I was wondering if we could talk about your upbringing and how you came to music.
Well, um, I started on piano when I was probably 6 or 7. Took piano lessons for a couple years, and then you get to like middle school age, and your world starts to open up a little bit. I had 3 older sisters who had record collections, so I would, listen to the music that they had. Um, and at that time it was like a lot of guitar music, so I said, well, man, I want to play guitar. So I continued on playing piano and guitar through middle school and high school, and and at that time, I guess it was, I look back and it's like, well, you want to get into a band. It's kind of easy. It was easier for me to get into a band playing guitar, I guess, in a way.
Right.
So that was my focus, and continued on in that way. I ended up going to college for music and majoring in guitar, general music.
Okay.
Um,
So
but
did you grow up in New Jersey?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
town called South Plainfield.
Oh, sure.
Mil-
And then
mil-
what college did you attend for?
I started out at Penn State, but ended up graduating from Jersey City
Hmm.
State. Yeah,
Yeah, good program.
yeah.
Nice. All right. So it was like your earliest influences then, was it more like in the rock kind of genre?
Well, like I said, my sisters and their friends influenced me, and as I look back again, think about it. I mean, this was the 70s,
Mm.
so they had everything from Stevie Wonder, Led Zeppelin to Mahavishnu, um, Cannibal Adderley. My sister gave me a Keith Jarrett record one year. Um, I mean, when I was a real little kid listening to the radio, it was just like, New York City radio. They would play everything from Tom Jones to Chaka Khan. So it was kind of a wide variety of influences.
Yeah, and it seems like that's a little bit before me, but that era of music, there seemed to be like a general openness to, not everything was like so much in a box, and each individual artist or band, like you mentioned, the Stevie Wonder, Mahavishnu. I mean, just a very specific individualistic sound. And it didn't seem to really be this push to like make people sound similar to another group. So I think
Right.
just the variety or the uniqueness of each group was really the sell.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel lucky to have experienced that.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of people do ask me about, early influences, and I should say that earlier than that, like I said, I was taking piano as a little kid, but I would go to my aunt and uncle had a player piano. Back in those days, it was not electrified.
Mm,
Like I don't know if people are familiar with player pianos, but back in the old days, they would have a roll on paper that you would put into the piano, and you would have to pump air through it,
yeah.
and the various holes would make the piano play. So the little kids, me included, would sit at the piano and pump the player piano, and all the adults would be, around us, behind us, singing songs, and you
Mm,
know that was like old Broadway tunes and patriotic songs, and
Yeah.
things like that. So that was like real early influence. It was just my family singing to a piano.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. It's funny because I don't think people have this realization just how important the player piano was, like in the trajectory of American music. I mean, before even sound recordings, that's how people listen to music, you know?
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because just yesterday, at my music studio, a guy came in, an older gentleman, and he had this box of piano rolls, probably from the
No
20th
kidding.
century.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's like, what do I do with these things? And I'm like, man, I don't even know anyone who. I said they're of value to somebody, I'm sure, but like I can't use them.
Yeah.
But I did look at them and checked out, how all the holes were punched, and it's just amazing to think like, it's guys like Scott Joplin and Gershwin and stuff. That's what they were doing. They were punching piano rolls.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's so cool. All right, so you did the Jersey College thing, and then after graduation, was it just full-time music?
No, I had some day jobs. Uh, I worked for BMI,
Mm,
doing office work for them for a number of years. Um, had some other kick around jobs doing construction stuff like that. But after college, it was BMI. Worked there for a couple of years, and then I kind of got. I actually learned a lot about music and copyright law and things like that. But it was an office job. I got kind of tired of that.
right.
So I said, well, I want to put my college education to work. So I became a full time teacher, private, you know,
Mhm.
private students. I would have 25 kids a week pretty much for a long time. I did that.
Yeah. Right. And then you did do some traveling with the music as well, right? You had some experiences on the road?
Not a lot. Um, I guess it was probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago now. I had a band called 10 Foot Tall. It was a kind of a singer songwriter meets jam band kind of thing. Um, we toured a little bit, opening for Los Lonely Boys. I opened up for like uh, Marshall Tucker, Dave Mason, some legacy acts like that. But it was mostly like weekend stuff, nothing, real long extended tours.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I mean, in addition to the Southland Symphony album, I mean, you have a lot of different projects happening, very varied in some ways. Talk about like, for example, I think you have the Supernova group. So can you discuss like some of your other current projects?
Sure. Yeah, Supernova's a great band, 8 piece, full band, guitar, keys, bass, drums and percussion, three horns. Um, and that's a real fun project because we do everything from Duke Ellington, Horace Silver to, as I said, like the 70s fusion stuff with Chick Corea, Metheny, Schofield. I do some of my original stuff with that band as well. So that's kind of like a traditional jazz meets funky fusion.
Mhm.
We'll be playing some outdoor festivals this summer. Um, and that group gets pared down depending on the room and the gig. Sometimes we'll do like a 5 piece version of that band. But I also have the trio, which is more straight ahead stuff.
Right.
We do some monk and things like that with the trio, but it varies as you know, depending on the gig. Like it'll be a trio. Next gig we'll have a horn player, trumpet player, make it a 4 piece or something like that.
Yeah. Right, right. And I always like the couple times I've had an opportunity to gig with you. You always pick cool tunes. It's
that's
not
the
always
that's the
just
fun of it, right? That's the fun of it.
yeah, and some can be quite challenging, like a Spain. But I mean, yeah, it's cool. So it's just so now pretty much the thing is just a bunch of gigs, I would imagine. And do you have any other albums or recordings on the horizon?
Well, as I said, I want to do an acoustic guitar jazz record, but Supernova has been planning on recording for a while now, and we were going to do something early this year. The end of the winter, basically like January, February. Um, but the Sourland Symphony really became a priority, and I said, well, I want to concentrate on this. and we started getting bookings for Supernova. So I said, let's just wait a while. We'll do like 6 or 7 more gigs with Supernova, get it even tighter, and then we'll record. So Supernova will probably have a record out next year
That's
as
cool.
well.
And for that project, do you use pretty much the same individuals? Is it like a band concept or kind of
Yeah, mostly. I mean, every once in a while there's a sub that
right?
has to come in, but that band's pretty set. Yeah,
All guys from
everything is.
your area?
Yeah, the horn players are all mostly from around here. Drummers, a little further north. Chuggy Carter, who I have spoken to you about, he lives in Hillsboro. Bass player lives right up the road from me.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so that makes it good. Like we can, get together at the last minute, say, Wednesday night, hey man, you want to get together and work on that song, that kind of thing. It makes it easier.
Right, right. Yeah, I did meet Chuggy on one of your gigs, and yeah, really fun guy to talk to for sure.
Yeah, you should definitely have him on. He's got stories for days, man.
Yeah, I know, I know. We talked about getting him on, and I just need to carve out a good amount of time because I know he's got stories and he likes to tell them.
Yeah.
Super talented and friendly guy for sure. Cool, man. So, what did I miss? What else would you like people to know? Where can they find the record and such?
Oh, sure. Well, my name, jamespopikmusic.com. All the links to everything else will be there. It's on the Sourland Symphony's on Bandcamp. Um, Folks should know that I'm going to release it on vinyl. Probably that'll be out in August.
That's cool.
Good old vinyl to
Right.
2 record set, double record set on vinyl. But there's a special Facebook page for the Sourland Symphony, which you can get to from my website, as well as my regular Facebook page. And what else? I think that's it. If they just go to jamespopikmusic.com, they'll find it. The link to YouTube is on there. So
Mhm. And your schedule, because you play, very regularly. So if someone wants to see where you're playing, your calendar's on there.
oh yeah, yep, yep.
Yeah, cool, man. All right, hey, James, unless you have anything else you want to talk about, man, I think we did the thing. Um, Hope to get together with you again sometime soon, and I hope everyone checks out your record, Sourland Symphony. It's highly recommended. I know everyone who's listening to this will enjoy it for sure.
Yeah, Jay, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Same here. I look forward to playing with you soon.
Yeah, man, it's always good talking to you.
All right.
All right,
Take care, man. Thanks. See you.